Stand by. Is this thing on?
Yes, Dan.
Oh, hello.
You're listening to Old News with Dan and Carrie.
This just in.
Breaking news to report.
We are live.
Old newscasters
Can we just say former?
Sure. Former newscasters reunite behind the mic after more than 20 years.
Old news is good news.
Stay tuned. Today, we are honored to have Samara Sodos, who I know as Sam Sodos, as our guest. Sam and I were in the journalism school at the University of Wisconsin-Madison in the 1990s. Sam went on to work at news stations in Madison, Milwaukee, Virginia, and Florida. Now Sam shares her knowledge with the next generation of journalists by teaching at the college level at the University of South Florida in Tampa. Sam Sodos, welcome to Old News, and thank you for being here.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me.
Hi, Sam. Good to meet
It's
you.
been a long
Thank
time.
you, Dan. It was such a great intro, Carrie.
Oh, good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well,
She specializes in great intros.
That's right. Now I'm out. Now Dan takes over. Now let's start at the beginning. So you grew up in Milwaukee, right?
Yes, I did. Really, from the beginning of time, wanted to become a journalist. And
Really?
yeah, I mean, I think from sixth grade.
Did you like writing all along? Like even when you were younger, were you always into writing and coming up
Yes.
with stories and things like
I have
that?
been journaling since I was 11.
Really?
Wow.
And did you keep them
Yeah.
all? And do you reread them?
I do, and there's some like really salacious stuff in there.
Oh, a tell-all book. Stay
Yeah.
tuned.
Yeah, no, there's some stuff in there, but I just like really wanted to. I think it was when they said, this is current events and you can, do this, and I didn't understand the journalism part of it, but I just thought I really want to do this, so I was totally caught into it early on.
When you were caught up in it, that young, were there some heroes you kind of looked up to at that point? Were there people you kind of went, I want to be like that person, or you watched a certain newscast, or was it more print journalism at that time?
It was probably more print journalism, it was a different time. So I just knew that I loved history. So, with journalism, it was like history, current events, political science, all these things. I was like, I want to do it. I want to do all of it. So
We were both in the J school. Were you 1 year ahead of me? I think. Did you graduate in 94?
93.
Oh, 93. So you were 2 years. So we didn't really have overlapping classes, but we did have an overlapping sorority. So that's when I really got to know you, when we logged hours and hours and hours and hours and hours on a musical production. You'll appreciate that, Dan. He loves the theater. And it was singing and dancing, and it was a competition. So it really took up a whole semester.
Does Dan local theater?
Dan does local theater, a lot of it.
I do. Yeah, I like it a lot. Yeah. In fact, Carrie, let me share my screen for a second if I can.
Oh, look at you, fancy.
Can you see it?
Not yet. Here we go. Oh, stop it. Oh, please don't let this be my solo. That's so gross. I'm just shouting. Thankfully, I cannot hear it.
Who created this?
Oh, yes. That was one of those. Oh, yeah.
Girl,
did you
the Milli Vanilli move? Yeah.
Did you choreograph that?
I love you.
I was the choreographer. Yep, and we had an awesome
and you can't hear
team.
It, though?
No.
Because here's your solo.
Oh no! No! Just look at the dramatic arms.
Oh, that was so good. And apparently you guys won after this long dramatic pause that they had. Everybody kind of left the stage here. What's going on?
Because they knew we were going to win. They were like, you're going to win.
I've never been so relieved in my whole life.
Are you guys in this conflagration here?
She was.
I was in the mix somewhere. I just remember just feeling like all the weight of the world dropped off my shoulder. Oh, I think I'm under Jen's armpit right there. That little image under Jen's armpit was me.
Is that you over here, Carrie? I gotta, before we go on, and I can edit this, but Is that you right here or in the middle or no? Where are you? Oh, right here on the right.
Here, right here. Yeah.
Oh,
You're
yeah,
like,
I had real similar hair to what I have going on now.
wow,
There I
yeah,
am.
okay. Awesome. I've got something else I want to show you too,
Oh boy.
because this is from your friend Sam.
Fred Astaire, Cheryl Burke, Bob Fosse. These people don't know anything about dancing. Now, Carrie Kokens. There is a choreographer extraordinaire.
Oh my
Carrie, because
gosh.
of your energy, your genius, your commitment, your kindness, and your friendship, that we were able to accomplish the greatest victory and greatest production in the history of the University of Wisconsin Humorology program. Best to you. Miss you.
Oh my gosh, now I'm crying. Oh my gosh, there's more.
And Kim here. I was so excited to hear that Sam was doing this podcast with you. So fun to catch up and see what's going on in everyone's lives. But I just wanted to drop you a quick note to let you know that you are probably one of the most talented, loveliest people I've met, and Humorology was such a highlight of college, and you really made that possible. You're just such a warm, wonderful person, and hope all is well with you, all is well with your family, and just wanted to touch base and say hi.
Aw. Oh
About
my gosh, I can't
those you
believe
touched.
that was amazing. Thank you so much. Now I'm all verklempt, but thanks. I appreciate that.
Well, Carrie, I want to tell you that you really had such an effect on so many people. And I know this isn't really like the topic of this podcast, but I thought about this so many years, and you were such a leader. It changed everyone. And I think about it all the time, and everyone who is involved in it thinks about it all the time. And I just want to thank you for that. And I can't even imagine what you've done in your life going forward. And I just want to thank you for everything you've done.
Thank you. I'm really moved and I have tears in my eyes, and I really appreciate you saying that. Dan, you've been in countless shows, and you know that feeling like you work so hard as a team and you're so proud of each other, and then it's over, and then it's like, oh my gosh, what do we do now? It's that void, that follows the show. But we all had that bond, and it's like we'd see each other and you just felt like you were seeing a brother or a sister that you've been through this experience with. And thank you, Sam. That really is nice.
Well, you're a total badass. I mean, like you changed lives. I mean, you absolutely changed my life and so many others. I mean, I feel like I never got the chance to tell you that, and I want to tell you that now, that going forward in my life as an adult, it sounds corny, but you really changed my life.
From being a bore, it is the answer that we search for to all questions of what to do.
But you were like, hey, we can all participate and win. And you were the only person I knew who ever did that. And I just want to say thank you. And it was and when I've been talking to people about this, they're all like, oh my God, really? Yeah, Carrie crushed that. She did that. She made that all possible for us. And I know it's like, okay, whatever, humo, but it's not whatever humo. It changed our lives. It changed our lives as adults moving forward. And I just want to say thank you.
I appreciate that so much. You've made my day.
Well, I gotta say, it's amazing too from watching it. Like, I watched some of those clips that Sam sent me, and I actually have met Sam already. Carrie, we talked on the phone.
You guys are
before
so
this.
sneaky.
But we did
I gotta say, like,
stuff.
some of the stuff you guys were doing, I mean, the choreography and the singing and all of that stuff, I mean, you guys must have worked a ton on that.
We did.
I know you're young.
right? She taught me the Running Man.
That's right. Our Milli Vanilli
That's
moves
awesome.
and
Girl,
Running
you know
Man.
me.
I'm like, we will do 3-part harmony. I actually recently got a job from a director in Cleveland because he's in his 70s. He was in humorology at the University of Wisconsin. And as he was going through resumes for the specific hosting job, he was like, oh my gosh, you were in humorology. I was in humorology. And he was at the school the same time
Wow.
my parents were. Pretty
Wow.
cool.
So
Yeah.
tell people who don't know what humorology is. Like some
Yeah.
people might not know what humorology is.
Well, give that to Carrie because
Oh, okay.
Right. Well, so it's a musical production. The sorority gets hooked up with a fraternity. The two of them team up. They have directors. So like Scott, who was in the video, everybody kind of had their niche, and some excelled at the dialogue. You'd create your own dialogue and storyline, and the music and the choreography, and we'd have rehearsals multiple times a week, and so we'd use music that already existed, but we'd change the words. But it was so cool because we had this phenomenal orchestra that accompanied us. So we had to provide them with the music. And so you do a mini version in the fall to see who moved on in the spring to do the like half hour or whatever, 25-minute, I can't remember however long the show was. And then you'd
It
compete.
was a production.
It was a
it was hard to
production.
get in the show to begin with. I mean, it was like impossible to get in. So when you got in to even possibly win was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And what did you
it
win
was
then when
fun.
you won? Because you guys were the first place winners for that. What did you win?
Like a really bad trophy. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's probably
like,
somewhere in the Delta Gamma house in a trophy case or something. I don't know. We just had
And
this
it's a fundraiser too, right?
yeah,
Yes.
at that time it was for AIDS awareness.
You were working at the NBC station in Madison while you were in school, right?
Just as an internship, like I just, yeah.
That's what I did at ABC senior year that eventually led to my first job. But so you were going out there starting junior year, or when did you start that?
I think senior year, but I always tell people like, hey, I interviewed like Bon Jovi, like it was always funny, you have to open your mind up to these internships because anything can happen, right?
Yes.
So,
But
Did you interview Bon Jovi in Madison?
yes. So they
At the
had
Edgewater?
I don't know what arena it was, but it was like they were practicing and then they were like, you can just interview them. And I was like, okay, I'm like, 20 years old, but okay. And it was like Richie Sambora, right? And I was like, and John Bon Jovi, and they were just practicing. And that's the joy of internships, right? You can get so much experience.
Well, they clearly trusted you too, because they wouldn't send out any intern, but they clearly saw in you that you could handle this. This was
That's kind of you, but I think they were just like needing someone to hold the microphone.
Well, it had to be around the same time because I interviewed him in Madison at probably early 90s as well, because I was working at 27.
Tour. It was the same.
Oh my
tour.
gosh, you were there together.
We might have bumped into each other at that, but actually we had to interview him at the Edgewater Hotel
Richie
where he was staying.
Flirted with me. Like, I'm pretty sure he did. I was like,
breaking news.
Yeah.
I'm sure he did.
Breaking news on the podcast. I was like, are you flirting with me? I mean, it was weird. But
I only got to interview John Bon Jovi because he was the only guy we could, get lined up or something. We did it in his hotel room at the Edgewater, and we were waiting outside to meet with him, and he comes running up the street like he was out for a jog.
I bet he flirted with me too.
He did not flirt with me.
I bet
he
you
flirted with the photographer.
So I did Madison, and then I actually moved to Israel for a year after college, and then I came back and then worked at the NBC affiliate in Milwaukee, WTMJ, and then I ultimately moved to the NBC affiliate in Roanoke, Virginia. Hard to say where that is, but it's in Southwest Virginia. And then Somehow I got into Tampa. Like I was able to skip a couple markets. So
And
so
what
that,
size market is that? That's a big one.
yeah, it's like, well, at the time it was like 13, it might be 11 now.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you were reporting in all of these places.
Yeah.
Were you anchoring as well?
Yeah, I would do some anchoring as well.
Mhm.
I liked reporting better though.
Did you? What did you like about it better?
I liked being on the scene. I liked experiencing it. Even when I was filling in, like anchoring, I would be like jealous of the people who are on the scene, you know. I'm just a reporter at heart. I just liked to experience what was going on.
And let's go
But
back to Israel for a second. You
Yeah.
were working at a newspaper, weren't you? In Jerusalem?
yeah, so I went over there and then I was trying to get some jobs and then I worked for the Jerusalem Post.
What was that experience like?
Um, it was interesting. I mean, it wasn't like I was, covering, what you see now, but I
Right.
just to, do any stories for the Jerusalem Post was like pretty cool. At the time when we graduated, there was a recession. There was a recession like in 1993, 94. So I was kind of shocked that I couldn't get a job in my field. So I went to Israel because I was like, well, I always kind of want to do this. And then I went over there and they really wanted my skills. They wanted my like skill set. They wanted like me to, I did a lot of different jobs. The Jerusalem Post job was like, no, they did not put me like on the front lines, but I was still like, hey, they hired me. So,
Well, what have you been thinking about as you've been seeing what's going on over there right now and Gaza Strip and everything?
well, Carrie, that's a tough question. It's tough for me because I live there. So, I don't, I think it's really complicated and
Yeah.
hard for me to, what I will say as a, now that I'm like a professor, I would say that I think that we should encourage dialogue amongst students. Like we should even though I might have my own opinions from living there, I feel like we should encourage dialogue. And that's what it was like at Madison, right? Like it was like, let's just encourage dialogue. And so I don't know that that's happening anymore. It's like it's more like where are you at? What side are you on? And just because I would never tell anyone like my personal feelings on it. But I do feel like college campuses are a place where we should exchange in dialogue. And that's what it's all about. That's what Wisconsin was about. We have to teach students, or like, we just need to exchange ideas. I mean, that's what a college campus is about.
I agree with that. I think as long as we're safe, as long as people are safe and there's, things in place, not just on college campuses, we should be able to exchange ideas in all places. And we're never going to agree with everybody. None of us are. I mean, even little nuanced things, there's going to be ideas and concepts and policies that we all have some disagreement with. But if we can't get out there and at least get them out in the air without being disrespectful and without being angry at each other, then we're never going to solve anything, which is fatalistic, I guess. But
I agree with you. I mean, you should get these feelings out, and that's what it was when I went to school. But now it's like we're all judging people, and I feel like I don't teach this stuff in my classes. I just want people to feel free to express their ideas. Feel free to. That's what a college campus is for. It's getting very confusing.
So when you were in Jerusalem, you weren't obviously covering, conflict in terms of war and things like that, but you did later in your career, right? Didn't you cover, I believe I was lurking on your LinkedIn page.
Working.
I think you did you cover Afghanistan and Iraq? Were you there on the ground?
Well, so in Tampa, we have there's a Air Force base, and there's Central Command, and then there's also SOCOM. So it's like Special Forces and Central Command, and they all run what's going on out there. Few people know this, even in Tampa. So, but as a reporter, I knew that, and I covered it for like 8 years. And so yes, I did know what was going on, and I did cover the wars, both wars, like Iraq and Afghanistan. I would, interview the top generals involved, and because they were here, I mean, this is where they're based. But I don't think a lot of people in Tampa understand that this is where they're based. Like, this is where, where they're running this stuff. It's here. It's here.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see the base, you can see it. And my husband happens to be a West Point graduate veteran. He's a 20-year veteran. So I can get on the base now post journalism career, which is fascinating for me, because I'm like, oh wow, this is so cool.
Well, and it is something when you think about, you're reading the paper see, this is old news. I still read a newspaper.
I do too.
But you read stories, from journalists and things like that. And a lot of the, conflict and a lot of attacks are made remotely, right? They're made with drone attacks and things like that. So you can pretty much manage that from almost anywhere in the world. So that is really interesting how the theater of operation is no longer, it's not World War II, where the theater of operation is, Normandy and inwards. Now it's, wherever you can run a drone from, or some other type of remote. Heck, I'm sure there's cyber warfare things going on as well. But so you were covering that as a reporter in Tampa. And was that what you won some awards for? I think you won an Edward R. Murrow Award, did you not?
I did. That was when I was in Roanoke, just about. That was in Roanoke. Yeah.
Okay.
That was about like a unfortunate young girl who died, who was murdered. But also what happened to me when I moved to Tampa was I was very like nuts and bolts. I was like, so before I came to Tampa, I was like, I'm going to be the person who breaks the stories. I'm going to be the person who kicks ass. I got here and I realized this market was very like, we're going to tell storytelling, this and that, which I loved. All of a sudden, I became this other kind of reporter. Like, I was going to tell stories. I was telling stories about people and all of these things. It changed me. Like, I totally changed. I had an agent, and the agent was like, no, don't do this. You're a nuts and bolts reporter. And I was like, I want to tell stories. I want to tell stories about people who make a difference. And I did, and it really changed my life. It was kind of around 9/11, which of course dates me, but I just thought, I really want to tell the stories about people who are like, I don't care, he's a baker, whatever he does. I want to tell the story about somebody who is changing our community, whatever it is. So you have to fight for that, though, and I know you guys understand that, right? You can't just like, I'm going to tell the story about the guy who's like baking and everyone's happy. You have to fight. So sometimes I would have to do it on my own time. So the 2 Emmys I won, I did on my own time.
Really?
They didn't, but when I won it, they were all like,
way to go. Pat on the back. Did you shoot them too, or did you have somebody who shot on their own, shot video on their own time with you to do that?
Totally on our own time. But I believed in it. I was like, this is a story that needs to be told. But then things changed, like in the knots, like the knot, like 05, 6, 7, 8. And then just got into like, how much can you produce? How much can you, then I was just standing there going live all the time.
Oh, so the live presence increased. Is that when you had to start doing more social media? So
Yeah.
it's less like time with the craft and just more time telling what's happening?
Yes. And so I don't mind trying to like, if there's a new way to break a story, I'll do it. But it was also like, hey, I've been standing here for like 12 hours and I haven't been able to like do anything.
Hmm.
So it just got kind of like it just got complicated.
Mhm.
That would eventually drove you out of the business?
I think it's a burned out thing, right? You get
Mhm.
burned out.
Yeah.
But those are my people.
Mhm.
Like, you guys are my people. Like, those are my people. I love doing what I did. I just didn't want to stand in front of a camera for 12 hours. So
Mhm. Is that when you started making the shift to teaching?
well, actually I made the shift to PR. So I made the shift
You
to
did
PR.
PR first.
Yeah. And then I did that. And then I was like, okay, now I'm going to move to teaching.
It must be a hard field to at this point, because journalism and the way journalism has been delivered has changed so much over the last few years. It must just change so much the way that you approach teaching people to either go into it or go into something that has at least elements of it in it.
I'm just trying to inspire them. That's all I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make them accountable. I'm trying to make them like understand what sourcing is beyond TikTok. And I'm trying to like, if you're not going to show up to class, you need to tell me why. Like, this is a job. So I'm trying to do the things that have like a three-prong approach. Like, tell me if you're not going to show up. Also, we have to talk about sourcing, and I want to make you a better writer. And that's all I'm going with.
What are the courses that you're teaching this semester?
I'm teaching multimedia reporting, and I'm also teaching studio production. So I teach at USF, and then I teach at a community college here.
Oh, so you're doing both right now.
Yeah. I'm just trying to listen to my students. So I got my master's degree recently, and I'm like, I'm listening to them. I'm listening to these students who are like the age of the kids we would have, right? Like, so I feel like that the by the way, that was Scott.
What is that?
That was Scott. He just texted. He was like,
oh
yeah, Carrie.
Hi, Scott.
So I just feel like I want to encourage them to follow their dreams. And I know that they're not going to become journalists. Like, if anyone wants to come to me and be like, I'm all with it, but I'm just trying to make them better writers. And it's a very, like, when we went into it, it was very like,
I was gonna say, it was cut and dry. You learn A, B, and C, and now it's like
it's not
to Z.
no, it's not like that anymore.
So over the years then, Sam, I mean, now you're an instructor, you're a, are you considered a professor?
Dan, I'm not.
You're not.
I have to get a PhD, but
Okay.
but they still call me that.
What would you say, and maybe you don't have one, but what's your favorite? I mean, because you've kind of shifted careers over the years. What was your favorite part of your career at this point?
I wanted to be a reporter more than anything in my life, and I loved it. That was my passion, and I loved it. What I love now is being a teacher, and I'm surprised how hard it is to be a teacher. Like, that there's so much obstruction in that, and that's unfortunate. But my dream and my, I fulfilled my dream. I wanted to be a reporter, and I came here, and it was unbelievable. It was amazing, and like, it was like dreams come true. It sounds cheesy, but it was. now that I'm teaching, I'm like, oh, this is so great. This is the last time I felt this way was when I was a reporter, but it's just a weird system because in the academic world, and every parent should know this, that they don't bring people in who know anything. They bring people in who just have PhDs, they don't, it's not people who have, experience. It's people who, it's just a really weird system. I'm not trying to break the system. I'm just trying to understand the system. I got married during the pandemic, which was also
cool. During the pandemic. Well, that's a story in itself. But he is originally from Niagara Falls, right? Mm-hmm. And how did you two meet? You're from Milwaukee. He's from Niagara Falls. Where did you meet?
So I was doing corporate PR communications at the port here in Tampa, and he was on the board of the port, and he left, and then it wasn't while he was there, but when he left, we just started talking. That was it, basically.
And you fell in love.
It was totally the worst time to get married. We were hey, let's do this. And everyone was like, this isn't real. It was that kind of thing.
Well, not a bad time if you don't want to invite a lot of people. So, you can have a very small wedding and you have a great excuse.
Sure. I mean, I was like, oh, so my family doesn't have to come. That's awesome. But
wait, now, is he from the American side or the Canadian side of Niagara Falls?
The American side. So he's a big Buffalo Bills fan. And
oh yeah.
And by the way, Carrie,
yes,
not appropriate, but I dated a Pittsburgh Steelers fan for a long time.
Oh, you did?
Oh yeah. That's a whole podcast in itself.
So there's a lot of them around the country.
We got a sequel.
Yeah. They're like Packer fans. They're everywhere.
Yeah. I'm a Packers.
Oh, yes.
I'm a Packers fan.
One of my many 50th birthday parties, I really tried to milk it as much as I could. So my high school friends came and we went to the Packers Steelers game, and I did wear green. I rooted for the Packers. Yes. And so did my husband.
So your true colors came out.
Yes.
You cannot your roots, give up on the Packers.
The roots grow deep. Yeah. No. So unless they're playing each other, then I root for the Steelers. But if they're playing each other, I have to do Packers. But I did cheer. I cheered for both. I did. I was cheering. I know.
I love you, and I've been trying to buoy you up, but that's lame. Well, I can tell you everything about the Steelers and the Packers. If you want to ask me, I could.
Well, we did beat them in the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, we did.
We know that.
It almost it broke up my relationship. I mean,
oh my gosh, that's serious.
Yeah, for reals, it did.
Well, we'll get that scheduled for another podcast.
Yeah, really. So many stories, so little time.
I was it's not that serious. I mean.
That's on our other podcast, Old Flames, with Dan and Carrie.
That would be a really good podcast.
That would.
Wouldn't that be something?
Dan, you're an idea man. I like it.
I come up with ideas. I just can't execute.
And he did. Oh, now he's back. Hello. And you've changed locations.
What the hell?
Now my eyeballs go down to look at you.
Damn you, Zoom.
Well, Sam Sodos, it's been such an absolute joy to talk with you and see your beautiful face, and thank you for your kindness and your insight and everything else. We really appreciate it.
Just know that you have changed many lives.
Oh, thank you. And you as well. And thank you for teaching and helping shape the next generation of journalists, because it's so important.
And for listening. And for listening to them, because like you said,
yes,
I think you're probably right. A lot of people don't ever feel like they get listened to when they're in their 20s, right? So to have somebody with the experience that you've had actually listen to them and learn from them, that's huge, I think. So thank you. Thank you for that.
Thanks, Dan. I really appreciate you guys having me, and thank you so much.
Thanks for tuning in to Old News with Dan and Carrie.
That's old news for now.
Join us next time.